Hello and welcome to Hot Issue. Today we are going to take a look at the development options available to Ghana and also the state of Ghana's development. What state are we in? What is our future like? How do we move this future and so on? These are the essential questions we're going to discuss today. And we are extremely privileged to have somebody who's been involved in it all, who has tried his hands at several things. We would introduce him after the break. This is Hot Issue. Welcome back to Hot Issues, and as I indicated from the beginning, we are looking at the state of Ghana's development, the factors militating against our forward movement, and the options available to us for accelerated development. And we are particularly privileged to have a gentleman with us in the studio. He's been known severally as the crusading engineer. He's a leading member of the Convention People's Party, but has also been involved in all kinds of engineering experiments. He's been involved in agriculture, he's been involved in all kinds of discussions about philosophy, about social development and all. We're talking about Mr. Robert Wood, the crusading engineer. Sir, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you.
Sir, what is the state of Ghana's development? Where are we as a people? Where is this country?
Kwesi, a simple way for evaluating our state is that since the overthrow of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the currency for this nation has depreciated by 2.4 million %. That is because it was about 1 cedi to $1, and right now properly is 22,400. So it's 2.4 million % depreciation. That's how we've lost our currency. And at the same time, remember, even the 70s, the Japanese yen was about $400. So 400 yen to the dollar. Somewhere last year, it came down to 82, up to 76 yen to $1. From 400 yen to $1 to 72 years, to 76 yen per dollar. But our primary problem is that, unfortunately, after the overthrow of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, we have refused to plan ourselves out of difficulties. There is no way anybody can come out of any problem whatsoever without a comprehensive plan. And somehow we have deliberately refused to plan ourselves out of this problem. And this refusal has led to so many problems. Because I said, when J.J. Rawlings came to power those days, I said, we cannot run this country as if we are dancing high life. Because high life is not defined. You run a country as if you are dancing waltz. It's very, very clear exactly what you want to do. But when you run an economy like dancing high life, where anything goes, then there is room for all sorts of things. People can steal. Anything can happen.
So you talk about planning, the lack of planning,
yes,
as the basic problem.
Yes.
How do we overcome this problem of lack of planning?
We need to draw immediately or give ourselves a national development program with quantifiable targets. India is where it is now because India right now is on its 12th National Development Program, 5-year programs from 1960. 12. And the 12, they have defined those important targets. For instance, they hope to get 100 gigawatts on solar energy. India is on, I think, para 12, 13. And is on working towards 100 gigawatts on solar. And
solar alone?
Solar alone. And Germany, on para 51, is on 34.7 gigawatts solar. We are on parallel 4. Now, the closer you get to the equator, the higher what's called the solar radiance. In Europe, including Germany, they cannot access more than 1,000 watts per square meter of solar radiance or energy. We can get around 1,500. And even US is even also on solar, and presently is on 0.7 terawatts hours of solar energy, 0.7. But Germany is on 5.1 terawatts solar energy. And even going off solar, let me also emphasize on solar. Last year, for the first 6 months, all new energy generation in US, 49% went on solar. And yet, US is between parallel 29 and 33. 49% of new energy solution in the US was on solar. South Africa is also parallel 23, 29, is getting working on a 5,000 megawatts solar. And we are hovering around 2 megawatts solar on parallel 4. Now, these things you can't understand. America right now by 2030 should go 20% wind. We have one of the biggest wind corridors in the world, and that is on the Volta Lake. You will remember that if you look at that river, it's as if it's very still, because it has a very low gradient. According to Dr. S.B. Arthur, the gradient is 0.002. So it's a very slow moving river. And you ask yourself, why are boats capsizing? Because the wind. See, because the river is in between two parallel mountains. Now, as the globe is turning, that is rotating at 1,040 miles an hour and orbiting at 67,000 miles, it grabs this wind like a sail and releases this wind onto Afar, Kita, and so on. And this is what is inducing the tidal waves there. Why don't you have any serious tidal waves at Lome? They're just neighbors. But because of this trough that has been created by these power ranges, and this wind actually disturbs the rain-bearing clouds coming from Nigeria towards us. So you find that you have heavy rains in Nigeria, heavy rains in the Ivory Coast, but less rains in Ghana. Because this wind that I'm talking about disturbs the rain-bearing clouds. And that is the more reason, and the only reason, why we can have salt in Ghana, we can have salt in Ivory Coast, we can have salt in Nigeria. Because this disturbs the rain-bearing clouds. So the rain loses its power from the Volta region, gradually builds up in the central region, and peaks in the western region. And this is the reason why you have a lot of salt on the coast, because it has few rains that is not able to neutralize the salt coming from the sea. And so this tells you that you have this wind corridor to exploit. And if you doubt, go to the Afram Plains. You find that on top of those houses, there are huge stone boulders. So this is a huge source of energy for you. If you have a 120-meter tower, an 85-meter blade, you get 3 megawatts power. When the Japanese had this Fukushima problem, they have recently erected 143 towers at 200 meters, each giving 7 megawatts. So multiply 7 megawatts by 143. They did not sit down to cry, hey, yewo. They went out. And on the sea, they have erected 143 of these towers for wind. Now we estimate that this corridor of 1,000 kilometers, if you put the 85-meter blade 120-meter tower turbine there, you should be able to put 3,300 towers at 300-meter distance to the north. That means that should give you over 9,000 megawatts of wind energy. Now, if you go triangular, you should get 29,000 of this. You could get up to 29,000 megawatts of solar of wind energy. Now, if you assume that at any part that about 66%, 70% wind outage, that there's within that period that there's no wind at all, it means that you are guaranteed 1/3, which is 9,000 megawatts. But these towers are built with fiberglass towers, and the frames are also fiberglass. So you have your this fiber factory at in the western region that had collapsed. You activate it because the fiberglass is made from molten glass. When glass, you melt it, then you extract the flat. So if you tell an investor that this is that program that we're going to put these towers for power generation, knowing that it's a market for this for the fiberglass, you will put money in it, and you don't require more than 1 megawatt of power to reactivate the Aboso glass factory. Call it maximum 2 megawatts, but to generate 2 megawatts power these days is nothing. I mean, that's no problem. So here we sit down crying. We're not talking about solar energy. We are not talking about the wind. Let's talk a bit about the solar. People say it costs a lot of money. But then ask yourself, why is it almost the whole world is going solar? What would Germany 5.1 terawatts of solar energy hours? Why? Can you say the Germans are stupid? There must be some reason. And we are so lucky that there's a new solar panel that's called 3-dimensional solar. And that should be in commercial quantity maximum 5 years. That 3-dimensional solar actually gives you 230% more over the conventional solar. See, the conventional solar is a 2-dimensional thing. So when the ray strikes it, it deflects about 30% of that. So, but the commercial, it will be commercialized in 3 years. But at least meanwhile, you can go in for the present solar. The investment cost does not exceed $1.5 per watt. $1.5 per watt. That's the investment cost. So I would have diverted part of our new money into this to create energy base, because without energy there is no way you can create value. There are 7 elements in what is called the value addition chain. The first element or parameter is time. The second is the tool that you need. It's so important. So if you are doing your analysis, you have to make sure that these 7 parameters are covered. So you have time, tool, the material, manpower, money, energy, and information. So energy is very crucial. But without the tool, definitely you won't be able to do it. So we can only move forward if we plan. And it is the planning that will identify those other interrelated parameters that are available that we are not looking at. Europe presently is using vegetable oil to fire engines and actually producing plants basically using vegetable oil. But I am saying, because I have researched, that there is no oil-bearing crop in Europe or America that has more than 1,000 kilograms of oil per hectare. We here in tropical Africa or in Ghana, we have plants that give you 3,500 kilograms of oil per hectare. So that's the ratio.
Which are some of these plants?
Abrofenkatia, Abe. I mean, the other ones are low. Abrafunca is the tropical African. It's a tropical plant. They call it tropical almond. It's a lot of oil in it. And 2.5 years it's matured. But why do you even go far to Abrafunca? Take watermelon. The whole life cycle of watermelon is 8 weeks. Watermelon has 3 sources. The seed that will give you vegetable oil, that can fire the body plant. The sweet part there, that can give you material for ethanol. And then that white cover. That white cover is starch, which you can wash out, enzyme it, distill it, and have ethanol. And as I'm talking, for the past 10 years, 70% of all new vehicles in Brazil is being on ethanol. But every time you are drying cocoa, you have what's called the cocoa sweating. That is a material for ethanol. That's what the cocoa producing cocoa, whiskey, and the rest. And if you are producing 1 million tons of dry cocoa beans, can you imagine the amount of ethanol that you just allowed to drip out and waste, which you can use to run your petrol engine? But there's no plan. Because of that sense of plan, we have not taken any steps to harvest this, and we only take the chief of the alternative increase. To what extent are you going to increase? And meanwhile, as you are increasing and you haven't managed your economy well, the city goes down through many causes, and then you say, oh, the city has gone down, so you can't do anything about it. But when you are doing certain things that will make the city go down, you refuse. Now, let me just give one example. 2004, Ghana imported 42 million Ghanaian cedis of rubber ties and outer covers and inner tubes. In 2012, we imported 285 million Ghanaian cedis of outer covers and inner tubes.
Car ties.
Yes. Meanwhile, Kwame Nkrumah has left you a tire factory. He left you a plantation. And you, 2012, imported 285 million Ghanaian cedis of outer covers. And you have grounded your tire factory. And nobody's asking why. I mean, so if these things you are doing and the currency goes down, then you are complaining. You are complaining. I can give you numerous examples from statistics.
So only recently the Volta River Authority told us that the water level in the Akosombo Dam is likely to go down next year, and therefore we should brace ourselves up for power curtailment. How?
Yes, this is why I am sad, because the sun is the ultimate provider of all energy on earth. And the closer you are on the equator, I've giving you examples about vegetable oil content in tropical plants and so on. So we should have to have a comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan that will make it impossible for us to think. Because, let me just even give you another example. We have biomass. And this country has a lot of biomass. I did some research and calculated the amount of charcoal coming from our farm plains in the north to Accra every 24 hours. It was huge. Charcoal is produced by burning the wood. Now, when you burn wood that way, you lose a lot of energy. You can convert wood into gas. In that process, actually you have two principles, what's called exothermic and endothermic. But that one is right, I don't want people to talk about that. But in that system, ethane is released, hydrogen is released, carbon dioxide is released. So the gas can then turn a petrol engine to produce electricity. But if you are stupid like me, just import one and replicate it. So in every village, they send half of their firewood to this plant. converts into gas, produce electricity, and we can make every village totally independent of power. This is not an invention. These plants are being sold in Europe. The Czechs are buying, they are supplying to Russia in those far areas where they're using wood. And because we are in the tropics, we have water, we have sun. It's so easy to create biomass. Talking about water, Ghana is one of the richest countries in water resource. For every 7 hectares of land, we have 1 hectare of fresh water land. Fresh water. For every 7 hectares. We are trying to find out which other country has this. Every 7 hectares of dry land, we have 1 hectare of fresh water. That because of the Akosombo Dam. Now, this one should increase a little because of the Bui Dam. So you have water, you have sunlight. So why should you complain about energy? You see, so I am not happy with the stance by the Volta that we should go, the emphasis should be on thermal, because it's becoming a problem. Research indicates that maximum 3, 4, 5 years, solar will be cheaper than gas. Is there anybody can go and read it? I can give you the data for you to research. So that is the way to go. And that is the way countries that are intelligent are going. But we have left this and using methods that have not helped us for I don't know how many years since the Champions time. At Champions time, what was the price of crude oil? $3 or $4. Now it's about $100 and something. So that tells you that it is not sustainable for you to just increase when you are not running the economy in such a way as to create wealth. Now, if America increases, what is the per capita in America? It's over $60,000. You are talking about somebody whose per capita is $1,000. And you say that, then say, oh, is it in London or here, the price of fuel is like that. What is the per capita income of that man in London or America? And your per capita income? What kind of analysis is this? These things disturb people like us. Because whatever we need to do to survive has been done by other people. Whatever. So why?
So what is the direct link, for example, between agricultural development and the development of our energy sector? Is there a link, and what is that link?
Total link. For instance, if it's an agricultural policy that we're going to produce a lot of watermelons, for instance, that will give us a huge raw material base for energy production. Because I've told you that white cork that you don't eat for the watermelon is starch, which you can extract. And when you get the starch, you can convert that one into ethanol by washing the starch, enzyming it, taking the, all of those details are not necessary, but you can get ethanol from the cover. So that's related to agriculture. The seed there in that watermelon contains vegetable oil. And the vegetable oil content, the energy content is 9,500 kilocalories. Diesel or crude oil is 10,200. So you have only about 700 kilocalories in there. Now, the difference between crude oil and vegetable oil is, the major difference is the flash point, the temperature at which the thing explodes. You know, gas oil, diesel, crude oil is about 60 to 80 degrees. Now, vegetable oil is about 180 to 200 degrees. So that if you create the conditions within the engine for that temperature to arrive at, the vegetable oil will explode and fire. That's not high tech.